Opening weekend of the 2025 college baseball season is officially in the books. Almost. We are recording this in the midst of Texas's final game at Arlington against Oklahoma State. The Longhorns up 12-4 after 5 innings in that one. But a great weekend in SEC baseball and college baseball as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Windup, SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show. I am Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, powered by our friends over at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get $150 in bonus bets today. Once again, opening weekend in the books. We have got tons to discuss. A lot of players, a lot of teams flashed over the opening weekend. This is the Windup, SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show. I am Chris Phillips, live on location in Arlington, Texas. Hence why I'm killing the magic. We're recording this before you are seeing it on Monday. We're recording this Sunday night. Texas is in the midst of taking Oklahoma State to the woodshed over at Globe Life, which is across the street from me. That game is 12-4 after 5 innings. But once again, welcome to the Windup. I'm Chris Phillips. Joining me as he does every single show, Harrison Fant. What's going on, Harrison? Appreciate you taking the time, my friend. We got a lot to get into, a lot to dive into. What an electric weekend it was, and a great way to get the 2025 college baseball season underway. What's going on, man?
Yeah, Chris, absolutely. I mean, we had an unbelievably electric opening weekend of the 2025 college baseball season. I mean, we saw everything we wanted to see and more, it felt like, and it was an awesome experience. I'm so glad. You know, we both were at different ballparks, SECU, across the board, covering the SEC landscape for you, the best SEC content in baseball on the internet. I mean, we had Chris Phillips in Arlington for the Globe Life Field. I mean, still jealous I didn't get to go. I haven't been yet, but you know, I held it down over here, a little more East Coast, Eastern time, you know, while you're taking it down in Central time. I was over at Lindsey Nelson, seeing the defending national champions take care of business at a updating Lindsey Nelson Stadium, which is going to be beautiful, Chris, by the way, when it's done. Some of the construction I've seen, the updates since fall when I was there, beautiful. But Chris, God, baseball is back. We're excited for it, and we're here to cover every single inch of it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Again, you were at Lindsey Nelson. I was at the Shriners Children's College Showdown. Again, I want to start by saying thanks to all the great Longhorns, the Rebels, everybody who showed us great hospitality, those affiliated and associated with the event as well, Harrison. It was a great time. That being said, let's talk about it. And like I mentioned, just to be clear, we are recording this right now because I am in Arlington. I got a flight to catch at the time you're probably watching this. I'm probably on a plane somewhere flying over some state. But
Influencer Chris has a flight to catch.
We got a flight to catch. We're on the road. Where in the world is Philly? Again, was really excited to get down to Arlington. It delivered. Again, Texas right now is leading 12-4 against Oklahoma State at the time of us recording. So, Harrison, here's what we're going to do. At the risk of jinxing, I'm giving Texas the dub here. We'll get to that in a second. We got other teams to talk about. We're going to start with Ole Miss because their games are completed. But I'm going to give Texas the benefit of the doubt here. Why not? Hey, I'm doing something you should never do, which is trust a college bullpen. So, anyways, let's start Harrison again.
Kickers.
It's just like college kickers. You can't really trust either one of them. But again, we got to start Harrison either way. With the Shriners Children's College Showdown, this was the place to be on opening weekend, the best college baseball. Harrison, we talked about on Thursday, right? A great weekend because you're going to find out the warts of your club. Like you're immediately going to know, hey, this is something we got to fix, something we got to work on. It's not like kind of skating by in some of these other non-conference series. No knock on any of these other teams, but you're going to find out it's high leverage competition, high intensity immediately. Harrison, let's first talk about the Ole Miss Rebels. How about a 2-1 weekend for Mike Bianco's squad? Friday, they take down Arizona by a score of 2-1. Saturday, of course, get run ruled. Tough game against Texas. 10-0 loss in 7 innings. But Harrison, what a bounce back on Sunday against a Clemson team that had dominated through the first 2 days. They jump all over Clemson starting pitcher, and the route was on really from the jump. Ole Miss wins that game 15-5. They run rule Clemson in 7 innings. Harrison, here's the thing when it comes to Ole Miss. We got a lot to talk about with them, but you and I discussed a 2-1 weekend or better for the Rebels was going to be considered a success. And even with the way Saturday night went down, obviously, again, it got away from him. Riley Maddox was not good, out of the gate, obviously. And we're going to talk about Texas's sticks in a second. But I think you got to be really encouraged by what you saw from Mike Bianco's squad. Again, especially in that game against Clemson. This is a quality Clemson team. I mean, you got a pair of top 25 wins, Harrison. And I know Arizona, they didn't look great. They struggled all weekend long. They were the only team to go 0-for in the tournament. But, Harrison, I leave really impressed with Ole Miss. I loved what I saw from Hunter Elliott in his first start in essentially 2 years. I thought he was really, really good. The control was there. I thought he pitched to contact. He didn't do anything crazy, but he gave Ole Miss exactly what he needed to get 5 shutout from him. I'm really encouraged, Harrison, if I'm a fan of the Rebels. You couldn't have asked for much better of a weekend. And again, I leave this weekend feeling much more optimistic about Ole Miss.
Yeah, Chris, I think you said it. Is optimism is through the roof for Ole Miss, the Rebels, after this weekend to kick off the season against very, very talented. I think all three of these teams are postseason. We know Clemson is going to be in the postseason unless something absolutely chaotic happens. We expect Texas to be in the mix, obviously, postseason. And Arizona is a very good team. They've hosted regionals in Tucson plenty of times, especially in the recent, 5-10 years. They're a postseason team, I believe, as well. But to go out there and go 2-1 against this competition, and that is a huge, huge kickoff for the season and boost momentum. I mean, for the fans, let alone the program. I know the guys there have high expectations. Ole Miss fans have high expectations as well. But for a guy like Hunter Elliott and Riley Maddox, 2 veteran guys who are part of that 2022 national championship team for Ole Miss, to go out there and Riley Maddox against Texas threw 3 scoreless to start and just kind of imploded in the fourth, get up 7 hits, 6 earned. I mean, but Hunter Elliott, like you said, pitching to contact, letting his defense work for him. Only 3 strikeouts in 5 innings, but only 2 hits. Why not? Let the guys get themselves out. Let the defense work for you. And just stoked to see him back on the mound and pitching well and kicking off his season, his campaign for 2025 in a strong way and a quality start for his team. And I mean, a 2-1 close game to start the season, Chris, that's what you're going to expect in the SEC and all season long. 2-1, 4-3, 5-3 games like that. But like you said, a big loss, obviously 10-0 to Texas Saturday in a 7-inning run rule. But to come back after that, and you're playing a top 10 team in Clemson, a top 10 team, a stouted lineup, and to go shut that lineup down, essentially. I mean, you're scattering 10 hits. Yeah, they had 5 runs, but you put up 15 runs against Clemson. Really good team, really good pitching staff. And I just think that shows a lot of respect and a lot of confidence you have in a team to flip the switch. I mean, I've talked with several players. I was in Knoxville today and yesterday covering Tennessee and talking with some former players. A friend of mine, he says the ability that Tennessee has had when he's been there and the last year's team to be able to flip a switch like that, that's what is a championship team's made of in the pedigree that takes to go deep in the postseason. And Ole Miss really proved that to me this weekend in Arlington, Chris.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about Ole Miss, Harrison, that, let's keep an eye on again, and for all these games and all these teams we're talking about, obviously it's one weekend, especially in the case of, when we're talking about individual games, there's times where it is just one game. But I think, again, in a tournament like this, you see the warts of your team early. The pitching depth for Ole Miss is something that I think I'll keep a close eye on. I'm a little bit concerned with. Like you mentioned, Riley Maddox, good through 3, imploded in the fourth. Some of the guys I saw out of the pen, I mean, they weren't missing barrels. There weren't many barrels missed on Saturday night, and give a lot of credit to Texas. And again, we're going to get to them in a second because they deserve a lot of credit. What you saw on Sunday, really encouraging from that entire pitching staff, the way they jumped on Clemson starter. I leave with more optimism. I think I'm still TBD from the standpoint of how much noise are they going to make in the SEC. But for the individual of just this opening weekend in this tournament, Rebels fans should be excited. And, oh, by the way, I want to highlight this because, again, I was at all the games, of course. That ball that Judd Udemark hit, I came out of my seat. I'm not joking, bro. I literally jumped out of my seat and was like, there were some really hard hit balls this weekend. We're like, oh, man, wow. I was like, yo, like that ball was like shot out of a cannon. So I just want to highlight that. That was insane. I mean, it went into the second deck. Had to be, I think it was 450 feet, they said. So he had a great one. Luke Hill with 2 bombs in the final game.
Yeah, high RBIs. I mean, have a day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he really stepped up in the final game. So, again, when we talked about Ole Miss, expectations really low, Harrison. You go 2-1 in this tournament. That's a successful weekend, in my opinion. So, I think you got to leave happy with that.
Is that a bigger takeaway for Ole Miss or a bigger concern for Clemson?
Well, from what I was told, Harrison is the Clemson guy that they threw in the Sunday game. They believe he's got Friday night stuff, but he doesn't know where it's going. They feel like he's got that kind of stuff. And this is, again, from people within Clemson, but he doesn't know where it's going. And I think what you saw was location issues haunted him. He got behind in counts. And give Ole Miss credit, they didn't miss. Like, when they got into hitter-friendly counts, they didn't miss. So, again, it's one weekend, a lot to be encouraged by. Ole Miss is going to be a stingy team, I think. Obviously they've got talent, but the pitching depth or lack thereof, what they look like to me right now, and I know this goes against what we just saw on Sunday, Harrison, but they look like to me, if that Hunter Elliott shows up every weekend, they're going to be in a great spot to take game one. After that, it's kind of like, who knows? You know what I mean? Like, it's probably going to be who knows from there. Again, We'll see. We can't draw strong conclusions after weekend number one, but there's pieces there. But do they have enough pieces to keep up on a weekend in, weekend out basis in the SEC? That'll be the question.
And a lot of the focus was on Hunter Elliott and Roddy Max going this, but when you have
Elliott was great. You got to be encouraged by what you saw from Hunter Elliott.
When you have Michael Michaelos go 3 innings, 5 hits and 3 earned runs against a good Clemson team, okay, keep you in there, right? But then Will McLaughlin going 3 2/3.
That kid was really good. That kid was really good. Yeah,
really impressive.
He had a mound presence and a moxie that, he was in control. You
really
like
impressed what I saw from him. I want to see him more in just how do you respond after that? Because that starts in your bag now, but it's behind you. That outing is in your bag, but it's behind you now. I want to see what he does next, and can you repeat it, right? Because that's what you have to do in the SEC. And I mean, if they can do that, that's good arms you have.
And you mentioned too, Harrison, the way that they responded after Saturday night, because I'll be totally honest. I fully expected Ole Miss to come out Sunday and lose to Clemson. Again, a Clemson team that had been dominant, especially after, Ole Miss got their tails beat. We throw out the belt to ass tweets. I'm the belt to ass. They got belt put to ass on Saturday night. Texas took care of business. They turned around and put belt to ass on to Clemson. So, which was a lot of fun to give our good buddy Micah some grief because, a team that's not expected to do a whole lot in the SEC took Clemson to the woodshed, who's supposed to be one of the better teams in the conference. So that was a lot of fun. Get a little bragging rights, although.
Does it just mean less?
It just meant less, although we're going to talk about a game in just a few seconds that SEC, ACC, went 1-1 against each other, so it wasn't a clean sweep. But that was a fun way to end the weekend for the SEC, beating up on the ACC like that. But anyways, good weekend for Ole Miss. There's positive signs. We'll see. I'm not ready, obviously, Harrison, to crown them as they're going to compete for the conference, but you see some potential. I just question depth, overall depth. There's a lot of teams in this conference I still think have more than them, especially in the bullpen. Now, speaking of the Texas Longhorns, Harrison, again, Texas right now in the midst of beating Oklahoma State. It is now 12-5, but they are going to the bottom of the 6th inning. So Texas is, 9 outs away from securing the win and a 2-1 weekend. So, you know what? We're going to go ahead and give it to them, essentially say they went 2-1. Harrison, the notable one was on Friday night. I just mentioned the SEC, ACC thing. Texas has this game in the bag. They're up 2-0 in the 9th inning. They blow it in the bottom of the 9th. They go to extras. They get up again, and they blow it again, and they lose that game by a final score of 4-3 in 10 innings. Bounce back in a big way, though, like we've been talking about. Beat Ole Miss 10-0 in a run rule game in 7. And again, like I mentioned, they're up double-digit runs again, 12-5 in the bottom of the 6th against Oklahoma State. Harrison, the thing that jumps out for me for Texas, it's like we've been talking all offseason, man. They can swing the absolute shit out of it. And I know game 1 didn't reflect that. I give Louisville a lot of credit. That kid Louisville threw was really, really good. But, dude, it's a lot more.
Flores.
It's a lot more than Flores and Ballou, though. It's a lot more. Dude, that Gasparino kid is a giraffe. That kid, I mean, dude, that dude, scouts have got to salivate over the frame.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a frame
Will
waiting to
Gasparino
be filled out.
Projectable. I mean, they got a lot of projectable guys up and down the lineup. I mean, you got Easton Winfield, too. I mean, let alone Max Ballou, and I mean, Kimber Schlusser, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I mean, at first, I mean, you got a lot of studs in the lineup, and you were a lot more optimistic, Chris, about the lineup than I was. I wanted to say, hey, there's a lot of talent there, but go prove it to me. We obviously both had concerns on the pitching side, but not in Friday night starter Jared Spencer.
He shoved. Yeah.
I mean, 5 2/3, 4 hits, no runs, 6 Ks against a good Louisville team. We expect to be postseason Louisville team, right? And I was really impressed with what we saw from him. I know you saw it firsthand, but I mean, Louisville's starter was good too. Like you said, Jalen Flores 11 Ks in 5 innings against this Texas lineup. But then to be able to, get to the bullpen after that, I mean, it's tough, but God, what a good game and a good one to see. But a lot of optimism, I think, from that game to win a scrappy game like that.
Sorry, Harrison, another. I want to get to the pitching in a second. Another hitter, though, I want to highlight. Somebody that Texas fans and Texas, those around Texas baseball, were really excited about. And again, I want to shout out Occupy Left Field. Hung out with the Texas folks all weekend. They know how to party. It's a big reason why we're going to get to Austin this baseball season, because they know how to party. Had a really, really good time, especially Saturday. Is it just in the rule book, Harrison, that if your nickname is A-Rod, you rake? Because he raked. A-Rod raked. Dude, he looked good. That kid, he's in the game tonight. Well, I say tonight. Sunday, 3 for 4. Dude, he looks good, man. He looks really good. I know he's a freshman. He's going to take his lumps. You got to be excited about that kid. Man.
Yeah.
You got to be really excited.
These are the type of games to kind of finish off Texas Louisville. These are the type of games that this is what's going to be the SEC. These 4-3 games, these one-run games, and who can get to the other team's bullpen faster and make the bullpen make mistakes. And Louisville did that against Texas. Texas has that ability with the lineup to do so, but they didn't do it against Louisville like the Cardinals did to the Longhorns. But like you said, the talent's there. I mean, I'm still more impressed, but I want to see it, in the SEC and see it, do it another 2 weekends, right, with this lineup. But the talent and the bat speed and the barrel ability is there all over Texas lineup.
Well, and I think, Harrison, to your point, I think everything that happened over opening weekend, no matter the competition, you take it a little bit with a grain of salt because, like you said, the season has begun. Another season will begin when SEC play gets going. But still, it doesn't take away. You mentioned the lineup. I was confident in the lineup coming in. It was the pitching I needed answers from. Dude, if I'm a Texas fan, I'm ecstatic by what I saw from the pitchers. I mean, I understand, your bullpen faltered in game 1. But, dude, the start you got out of Jared Spencer, we were asking the question, hey, he's coming from Indiana State. It's a jump up in level. Here's the thing. You can talk about level of competition, and Texas played about as good a competition as anybody in the SEC played on opening weekend. Either the stuff plays or it doesn't play. Jared Spencer's stuff is going to play. Bro, you're 97 from the left side. Filthy slider. And I'm not saying he's going to be Paul Skeens. I'm not saying that, but I don't know that I was expecting that. So you get the start from him. Then you got Luke Harrison just shoving all night long, right? I mean, their pitching really impressed me. Now, obviously, game 3, and I mean, they're not the only team, Harrison, where Sundays are going to be an adventure, right? You like betting college baseball, bet overs in college baseball on Sundays because it's kind of a mystery for most teams. Even the elites struggle to kind of find that consistent Sunday guy for the most part. But I was, Harrison, I was impressed with the pitching. I still want to see more, but I am more confident in the pitching from the standpoint of it's not like Max Wiener's not working with an empty cupboard. They got dudes with some stuff in that pitching staff. Do they have enough of them? We'll see. But I think some of these transfers this weekend really showed me something.
Yeah, and when you have a start like Luke Harrison to go follow what Jared Spencer did in Friday night and go 6 1/3, 2 hits, no runs, 6 Ks against, looking back at it now, an Ole Miss lineup that absolutely dismantled Clemson. I think it plays up even more. And then you only have to use Thomas Burns in the bullpen for 2/3 an inning because you end up running room, saving the bullpen for Sunday. That's huge. And to do that is going to play monstrously well in the SEC if you can do that, to go with a lineup that is absolutely raking up and down. I mean, you got 4 different guys hitting extra base hits. And you got guys stealing bases. I mean, you got the talent there. Every team is about having talent and then putting it together, and Texas is showing that so far very well, I think, to start the season.
And I think Harrison leaving the weekend, again, we're assuming you get the 12-5 or whatever 5 win over Oklahoma State, whatever the final score ends up being. I think Harrison, even if you're a Texas fan, you look back at the weekend, and I know you lost the first game, and it sucks to lose on opening day, obviously. But I think you look back and you say, you know what? Most nights, our offense is going to win us that game. Like, it was opening night. I don't want to say you completely write it off, but I think you kind of say, you know what? We're going to score more than that on most nights. So I'm more encouraged about Jared Spencer than I am discouraged about like what the offense did, if that makes sense. So again, this is an exciting Texas team from what I saw. I think this is going to be an exciting lineup. We'll see if the pitching staff, obviously they've still got some things to work through. And again, you see the warts of your team early, and bullpen issues were a problem for them last year. I saw it over social media, obviously after Friday. I'm sure you did too, Harrison, where they're like, here we go again. Same thing, new coaching staff. Same results. We'll see. I'm not saying they're going to be an elite level pitching staff, but you saw some flashes, I think. It was good to see for them. So, and again, they just hit the cover off the ball, man. They are so dangerous 1 through 9. They have got dudes that can hurt you. I mean, dude, against Ole Miss, like I said, even their outs were lasers, bro. They weren't missing barrels very often against Oklahoma State. They showed against Okie State, bro. Okie State has that 5th inning. Yeah, you boot a ball, you make an error. If you give them extra outs, you forget about it. Like, they've got enough guys in the lineup, they are going to hurt you. So I don't, again, Harrison, I think at minimum, Texas is going to be a fun team to watch because of all the sticks they have.
Yeah, I mean, against Ole Miss, you had 6 of the 9 starters having at least 1 RBI. I mean, it wasn't just 2-3 guys.
They're deep, man. They're pretty deep in the lineup. They're much deeper in the lineup than they are on the mound. They're much deeper in the lineup than they are on the mound.
I think the thing that still looms kind of more question than other aspects is the bullpen of Texas. What is that going to look like? Because they didn't have to use a ton of it, it felt like. So we'll see it for sure sooner than later.
Yeah. Pitching depth, no doubt. But again, I think you and I would agree, Texas fans probably agree, 2-1 weekend. By the way, a 2-1 weekend in a ballpark they have struggled in. Like, historically, they have. I mean, it was after Friday. I had Texas fans. They couldn't. It was so funny, Harrison. They couldn't figure out what the losing streak was. I heard one guy say, we've lost 9 in a row. Somebody else said, we lost 11 in a row. Like, it was like the fish got bigger with every story. It's like, how many has Texas actually lost in a row? But the record was not good. I think any Longhorn fan out there listening, they're saying to themselves, oh, we went to Globe Life and went 2-1. We'll take it. We'll run with it. So
the Cowboys playing at home in the playoffs at home.
Yeah, they'll take it. They'll run with the weekend. So successful weekend for the Horns and the Rebels. Successful weekend for the SEC teams in that Shriners Children's
weekend continued, Chris.
Yeah,
out in the desert with Vanderbilt, the Vandy boys.
Harrison, let me say this before we get into the games. I'm really happy that Vandy's opening weekend was defined by going 2-1 on the field and not defined by the clip that essentially went viral from Saturday night. And if you're listening to this and you don't know, go back, look on social media. Got number love for the Vandy boys. Clip surfaces from MLB, by the way. So MLB is the one that posted of them. I'm sure you saw it, Harrison, of them in the circle, dance. I don't know exactly what they were doing. We always know the Vandy boys have always had kind of crazy mid-inning routines. That probably takes the cake, and they got destroyed. I'm still getting comments on it. Got destroyed on social media. Again, I'm just glad their weekend was defined by success on the field and not that clip.
Not a fan of whatever ritual, or I don't know, the insights to it, but from the outside looking in, let alone if I'm on the inside there, I'm not a fan of that anyways. Like, we know that, mid innings and whatnot, all the guys on the bench go out there and stretch.
They've always done wacky stuff, though.
But
they've always done it.
Not that bad.
That's a different level.
That was child's play.
Yeah, that was to a different level. But again, they weren't defined by it because they went 2-1 on the weekend and got a big one on Sunday to close out a winning weekend. Again, on Friday, Vanderbilt beats Grand Canyon 4-3. Saturday, they lose to a pretty good Nebraska team. Final score of 6-4. And then Sunday, Harrison, in a comeback win where it took a grand slam late to put them ahead, the Vandy boys beat UC Irvine. Pretty solid team. A lot of people think highly of UC Irvine. Final score of 9-8. I mean, Harrison, this is another situation, another case where I consider this a success for Vanderbilt. And I think a big thing, too, the fact in the final game, because the hitting's the question for me, certainly, and I know for you, too. You're able to show some power, hit a grand slam late, get that big swing of the bat. If Vandy's able to get those kinds of swings of the bat, I don't know they've been able to do that, at least like the last few years. You're able to do that. It kind of changes my outlook of Vanderbilt. Either way, though, in a vacuum, in opening weekend, it's a good start. Good start for Tim Corbin and the boys. They needed a good start. It's a good start for them.
Chris, if I told you that the Vandy boys were going to put up 17 runs this weekend in the desert, what would you have said?
I'd have probably
thought 3 games.
I probably could believe it. I mean, 17 runs in 3 games in college baseball. But for them, I'd have probably said they probably scored 12 in one game and probably not many. Like they had one big game explosion. So, I mean, which is actually kind of what happened. They dropped 9 in one game and then scored 4 and 4 in the other. But, I mean, again, a team that had so many questions offensively, I think you take it. You go into a tournament like that. I think you look at it this way, Harrison. For these tournaments, if you can go into these tournaments, you're going to find out more about your team than you would play in, Slapdick State. Let's call it for what it is. You're going to find out more about your team, right? And Harrison, if you're able to learn lessons about your team while also having a winning weekend, that's the perfect scenario. Mike Bianco, Jim Schlossnagel, Tim Corbin, they can all go back. They've got things to work on. They've got things they can harp on going in the midweek, and you don't have a losing record. That's a win in my book. That's a win for all these guys.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, they were an inning away from sweeping the weekend.
Yeah.
They gave up 4 runs. What was it? 3 runs in the first to Nebraska. I mean, it was a sloppy kind of first, too, I thought, on walks and then a double that kind of cleared the bases. That I think should be viewed better than it was. I mean, you almost come back and you make it a game and you have an opportunity to kind of come back and win this game, right? But we thought Nebraska Vanderbilt was going to be a very good kind of slept on game on Saturday, and it ended up being a really good game. I mean, they battled back, and RJ Austin, I think, had a very, very good weekend. I mean, even Saturday, he absolutely blasted a home run, kind of backside center in the first after Vandy gave up 4 runs in the first, or 3 runs in the first. I mean, I think that says a lot to how they're trying to improve the hitting and the mindset that they're going in. I mean, because they need Chris Maldonado to have a big year. He was one of their best hitters 2 years ago. Last year, 28 plate appearances, batting with $150. They need him to have a big year, a big season. I mean, because it can't, like we said with Texas, it can't be just 1 or 2 guys. That's not going to work in the SEC. You need 4, 5, 6 guys that can drive a guy in anytime, that has, oppo backside double power, can pull it, obviously, and pull it out of the ballpark. But you got to have a deep lineup. And Vanderbilt showed more than kind of we expected this weekend, especially. And I'm excited to see how they kind of continue to progress until SEC play offensively, because I'm excited from it. I don't want to say satisfied. I was impressed, though.
I feel like you're a Vandy Boys guy, Harrison. As long as I've known you, Harrison fan, big Vandy Boys guy, which I'm not saying I'm not, but
I mean, I respect the old school kind of style of play and just like pumping out like an arm factory, obviously being a pitcher.
You know what it is, Harrison? You kind of look like a Vandy boy to me. I don't even know what that means, but I could see you. You look like a guy that played baseball at Vandy. I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. I really do.
I appreciate that.
You look like that. You're like, yeah, my name's Harrison Fan. I pitched at Vandy. I threw 98. Now I'm retired doing this podcast.
Flip it off.
You look good. You look good. You look like a Vandy boy. I don't know what it means. I don't know why, but it just came to me. So there you go. Take it as a compliment.
Take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, to your point, though, the offensive upside, it's all about power pitching, power hitting. I mean, we know Vandy's got the arms. You got a guy like J.D. Thompson going in game 1 every weekend. You're going to have a good shot. I think even McElvain's going to bounce back. And Bowker looked good on Sunday. So, I mean, I think that they're going to have the arms. It's just they're going to need R.J. Austin to be a dude this year. Like I think we talked in the preseason too. He needs to take the next step as a power hitter for them. If he can do that, man, it's going to spell good things for them. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's got to be more than. I mean, Colin Barcy, I think, has that kind of flair too. He needs to have a big season, and he's got the power to do so. I mean, 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs on Saturday. I mean, but like you said, Ethan McElvin struggled a bit, obviously, in his outing on Saturday. I mean, outside the first inning, I think he did well. I mean, it was 2 2/3, but he had a really big growing pains year, I think, and had a good season for a freshman at Vanderbilt, playing as much as he did. So he's going to obviously have some more growing pains this season. I think he's going to step up. He's got the stuff to play. It's just going to be executing it and, getting guys out. Because at the end of the day, it's outs. That's all it takes. And it takes a lot of pieces to do well and, have a successful and a long postseason run. But, I mean, Tim Corbin, we know, is one of the best coaches in the country. And I don't have no doubt that he can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the talent that they recruit in year after year.
He's still one of the best. He's still one of the best. Older guy, obviously. It's why we talked about this is a huge year for Vanderbilt baseball from the standpoint of trajectory. It just is. It's huge for Bianco. It's huge for Corbin. It's a huge year for them. So, again, good start.
I think it's bigger for Vanderbilt and Tim Corbin.
Yeah, no, I'd agree because too of what they were, I think, also, and getting back to that. But again, a good start, 2-1 in the desert, you'll take it. Let's go to the UNC Wilmington tournament. Harrison, the Georgia Bulldogs, they go 3-1 on the weekend. Friday, beat Quinnipiac by a final score of 9-1. Saturday, played 2 games. They beat Quinnipiac 7-4, UNCW 7-3, and then Sunday they lost to UNC Wilmington. One of the few losses, Harrison, by an SEC team. They lose 6-2 in the 4th game of the weekend. Harrison, I look at this, very ho-hum. I mean, you win 3 or 4. I know you lose the final game. I'm not going to overreact to it. I thought the Dogs swung the bat pretty well all weekend. Slate Alford was really good. How about the kid they had that hit 100 with the pause motion? He kind of stole some of the headlines.
Was it Brian Curley?
Yes, it was Curly. It was the Curly kid. Yes,
he apparently was like 92
pauses and then just 100. Yeah, and I read that too. Like his velo jumps over the years have been.
He was 92, 94 came in, and I've talked to guys that have, know guys that have trained with and worked with Wes Johnson, especially was at LSU. I mean, Paul Skeens was, from sources that I know, was in Georgia, working with Wes Johnson, his former pitching coach, in the offseason. For Brian Curley to come in and go from low mid 90s to throwing 100, like popping 98, 100, that says a lot. I mean, that's going to play, and if he can do that week in and week out, that's going to be dangerous to face every single week, Chris.
Harrison, I know you're a guy, let's be honest, with Georgia. It's very much it's wait and see with the Dogs. Again, that's why I said just ho-hum weekend. We're not, you beat Quinnipiac and UNCW a few times. Good job. We'll continue to learn about them, but I know you've got questions about Georgia moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, I liked what I saw from Paul Farley, the redshirt freshman, Friday night, going 5 innings in relief in his debut. There's no earned runs. I mean, I think that speaks a lot. Yes, it's Quinnipiac, but to do that in your debut, I think that's huge, and that's going to play well for him. And, what do you do next? How do you build off that, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Leighton Finley, who's, a veteran and the leader in that clubhouse, goes Saturday and go 4 innings, 1 earned, but 3 runs. I mean, not a bad outing, but not what he expects and what he wants to do week in, week out. But then you have Alton Davis, who I was really impressed with, the transfer from Bama, who went 3 2/3, 7 Ks, 1 run. I mean, that was a big get for Georgia. And I mean, his stuff's going to play. He's got really good stuff, and I'm excited to see him pitch. But like I said, there's questions. I mean, 3-1, I think fine. That's fine, right? I don't think you can go 2-2 with Georgia in this, UNCW tournament thing you want to call it. But I mean, Quinnipiac did beat UNCW in one of the games, and UNCW is not a bad mid-major. They're a very good mid-major.
Yeah, no, they're a good program. Very good program. To go 3-1 in that, again, you lose the last game, is what it is. You mentioned though the Alton Davis kids. He was really good.
Yeah.
I like what I
struggled on Sunday in that loss to UNCW. Bad. I mean, he didn't get out the first inning.
Yeah, I'll tell you the kid I'm excited about with Georgia, selfishly, the Devin Obie kid. I really like his game a lot. The Duke transfer.
Yeah,
really like him. He already adds to what's going to be a potent lineup. Again, I liked what I saw from Georgia. We'll continue to find out more, see more, as we will a lot of these teams. But Dogs 3-1 in the UNCW tournament. Harrison, last tournament we'll highlight. Mizzou, they go 1-2 in Puerto Rico, and they went. We predicted them to go 1-2, but I didn't expect them to go 1-2 and beat UConn, a team that is expected to, be a postseason team.
I had it in postseason. I had it in my top 25 and like 23, I think.
So Mizzou loses 10-0 to Penn State on Friday. They beat UConn 11-7 Saturday. They lose to Stetson 9-7. I mean, Harrison, what do we really make of the weekend? I think we all understand it's going to be a long season for Missouri, but you beat UConn. So I don't really. Is there? They got to have some
flip of a switch. You losing 10-0 to Penn State.
You lose 10-0 to Penn State. With all due respect, the Nittany Lions. This ain't football. Football.
That's a Penn State football score, 10-0, right? But
that's a Big Ten football score. Yes,
exactly. But then to beat a team like UConn and put up 11, not beat them 3-2, but put up 11 on them after not being able to score against Penn State. Talk about Garrett Jackson's ball club being able to flip a switch Friday to Saturday in a different country. And then to play a good Stetson team, another good mid-major. People forget Stetson's a very good mid-major. They hosted a regional in 2016 when they had Logan Gilbert, and they are a regional team every single year. They play at, Florida State's regional, Miami, wherever. They're a very good mid-major that plays in the postseason very often. They play all these Florida schools in the midweek. And to lose 9-7 in a competitive ball game, I think you got to give kudos to Mizzou this weekend in Puerto Rico. I think it's a good 1-2 loss. You obviously don't want to go 1-2. You don't want to go 0-3, but I think you got to give them a nod. Give them some credit.
Before someone in the comments, Harrison, says something to you about Puerto Rico, it is a territory of the United States. It is not technically a country. I just had to throw that out there, by the way. Listen, you're a baseball guy. You're not a
United States, Chris.
You're not a geography guy. I totally get it. It is confusing. It's a territory of the U.S.
It is not on the home.
Somebody in the comments is going to come at you for not knowing about Puerto Rico. So I had to throw that out there. Anyways, so I got ahead of it. Y'all ain't got to say nothing. I got ahead of it. But yeah, for Mizzou, solid weekend from that. Yeah, they did bounce back in a big way. To beat UConn, bounce back in a big way. We'll see. What also we're going to see about our friends over at FanDuel, because, of course, as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, guys. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting. So even if you miss the first few minutes of the game or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New FanDuel customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and up and present in select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and up and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Harrison, let's move on to the non-tournament play. We knocked out all the tournaments that happened on opening weekend, and certainly more are on the way as we go throughout the first month of the college baseball season. The best of the rest from the opening weekend slate. And by the way, I forgot to highlight this in the beginning, guys. We are going to talk some midweek, so stick around for that. That's something we didn't do last year. We are going to talk a little bit about the midweek slate, give our thoughts, what stands out. And also, but let's first, though, Harrison, talk about what stood out over the opening weekend. It was a lot of SEC teams winning. That's what happened. A lot of teams winning. Texas A&M, Florida, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma, Bama, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Arkansas all sweep their opening weekend. Give me your thoughts, Harrison. What jumped out? Let's start with the #1 team in the country. That's where we should start. College Station. Bubbles were blowing. Ball 5 chants were happening. It was a beautiful scene with even some really crappy weather, talking to those in College Station, but it did not stop Texas A&M from laying the wood on Elon. And by the way, though, a very uncomfortable opening day for them. I was told in Arlington that Elon has a kid that is a real dude. And you saw that on Friday. He shoved. That kid shoved. Give him credit.
Yeah.
But A&M, they sweep the series. Jace Lavalette might hit 40 homers this year. I mean, they're loaded, man. They're loaded. It was a fun weekend in College Station.
Yeah, Chris. I mean, honestly, you take care of business. A little bit of adversity. You're facing a good arm that I don't think a lot of people expected. I don't think A&M fans expected to see out of a team like Elon. But, I mean, a win's a win. A win's a win, Chris. But
listen, a win's a win against a dude, especially.
Yeah,
that kid was a dude. If you watch,
you want to have him more comfortable than others.
There are SEC teams right now, SEC head coaches that are like, we're getting that kid in the portal next cycle.
Yeah, that kid's probably not going to be at Elon next year. Getting eligible.
Probably not. He's probably not at Elon next year.
Yeah, I mean, but then you have your guy, one of the best pitchers in college baseball, Ryan Prager, going Friday night as well. Expecting that. Statistically, almost perfect outing. 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. But it didn't look like it was just overpoweringly dominant. He just took care of business. And out of a veteran like him, and the stuff he has, I think he just went in there and did his job. And that's all you need to do and all you asked for out of him. And he did that.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I think that's the theme of Ryan Prager too, Harrison. And it's not a knock on him, but he's not pumping 100 out there. The stuff's not overwhelming. It's not dominant. He's a kid, one of the rarities in college baseball, Harrison, that he knows how to pitch. I think he's wise beyond his years on the bump. He knows how to work the strike zone. He knows how to work eye levels. You see that every time he goes out. That's why he was so good last year. So, I mean, it was typical Ryan Prager on Friday. Again, you look up and down the lineup. I talked to folks in College Station. Once again, Harrison, it was a miserable weekend weather-wise. You mentioned the balls. Some of the balls, the way they sounded, the way they were hit, didn't go as far. I think it's because of how cold it was. But, man, there's a lot they're excited about, and they should be, man. I mean, hey, Caden Kent, it was like deja vu, hits a grand slam again. He did that in the Supers the last time they were there, obviously, against Oregon. He does it again on opening weekend.
Yep.
Again, Jace Lavalette hits a few. Hayden Schott hit a homer. Gavin Grahovic hit a homer. I mean, it was a successful weekend all the way around, and it was a lot of fun. Michael Early getting his first win Friday, series sweep. They took care of the business. It was very ho-hum, business-like approach, a lot of emotion. I know you highlighted largest opening day crowd in program history, which really says a lot. And the excitement. And again, on a day where the weather was not good. It was not good. They showed up either way.
Over 8,000 on opening day, largest opening day crowd in program history, second largest crowd since 2012. It doesn't tell you how fired up the Aggie fan base is for baseball this season and the expectations that they have. I don't know what will. I mean, other than the team being preseason number 1 and having one of the deepest lineups on, offensively, and then the studs they have on the mound too. But you talk about it, multiple guys having great games, very good overall weekends. And Caden Kent's a guy that honestly I think slips through the cracks a little bit more than others in this lineup because he's not Jace Lavalette.
His dad is Jeff Kent, though.
Agreed.
Let's not forget.
Former big leaguer, successful big leaguer. But
in case you didn't know, his dad's Jeff Kent.
Of course. And when you have guys like, the number 1 collegiate player expected to go in the draft and Jace Lavalette, and then SEC freshman of the year and Gavin Grahovic, and then you have, Hayden Schott, and you have Gavin Cash, one, I think, the best transfers that they got out of the portal from Texas Tech. He gets a little overshadowed, and the kid can play. Caden Kent can play. He does whatever he's asked, right? And I mean, like you said, the grand slam, unbelievable. And then Jace lighting up the scoreboard himself as well. I mean, but you talk about kind of not a good baseball weather weekend, Chris. You got Justin Lamkin, 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned, 9 Ks, and just kind of muggy, not good weather. Great stuff from him.
Cold
you saw
too, really cold.
Yeah, and then you get Miles Patton go 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 8 Ks, no walks, and just I'm impressed with that. And we were talking about how do you kind of replace some of these arms? When you lose guys, a lot of good bullpen pieces they had, but I was expecting and wanted to see what Miles Patton gives us, and he's showing he's got stuff that can play in the SEC and that he deserves to be in the weekend rotation so far, Chris.
Yeah, and I was told too, Harrison, the thing to watch with A&M moving forward, and again, this comes from those that are tight with the Aggie program. Top arms out of the pen were good. Some of the unproven guys, a little bit shaky, as you'd expect. Probably a lot of emotions, a lot of adrenaline. But, I mean, again, when you're replacing guys like Aschenbeck and Cortez, that'll be something I think we, Harrison, continue to monitor. But again, for the number one team in the country, you handled your business. Not a surprise at all.
And Isaac Morton looked, I think, best out the bullpen. I mean, really crisp stuff you got from him. 2 innings, shutout, good stuff. I mean, like you said, I think the pieces around that are going to be what, baseball fans in Aggie land that are, very in tune are going to be curious about is replacing those high leverage arms, because that's what the SEC you have to be successful.
Harrison, let's jump to the weekend where you were. That's Knoxville, Tennessee. Tennessee takes care of the business against Hofstra. This was never close. I mean, they were it was belt to ass from the opening pitch. And I kind of wondered on Friday, are there emotions because you're getting rings? And nah, they didn't care. It was a hit parade all weekend. A lot of guys contributing. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this one because, again, it's what you expect from Tony V in this lineup at this point. The thing that jumped out, and you highlighted it, dude, Liam Doyle. Yeah. My God. I was sitting there watching Ole Miss and Arlington thinking, who would look good in this uniform and who should be on this roster? Oh, this guy, Liam Doyle. Oh, he was there last year. Never mind. Tony V got him. Dude, the stuff looked awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
Chris. I mean, his first strikeout, he had a little pep in his step, feeling a little.
Dude, the man is K-strutting on Hofstra. I was kind of like, all right.
I mean, his velocity is up from, 92, 93, topping 96 on average last year to sitting 96, topping 99.5. I mean, you want to talk about sabermetrics and analytics. I mean, he's generating 21.5 inches of vert from a 5'7" release. That's going to play. I mean, just the stuff in the arsenal he has. I mean, those guys at Tennessee, and I was talking to my friend Connor Pavolone, who I was with, watching the games and stuff, and he goes, there's a lot of guys, that you play with or played against that's like, I'm glad I don't have to face you. I'm glad you're on our team. And I think Liam Doyle is one of those guys this year for Tennessee. And to have that as a Friday night stud, Friday night ace in the SEC is going to play super well, especially when you have a lineup like they have, Chris. And I think that one of the most impressive things for me, the guys, the staples there, right? They're gonna have, monster at bats, monster, big seasons, key seasons, like, the Hunter Insleys, right? The guys that the Cannon Peoples, all the pieces they have, even though they've had to replace a lot of really good pieces like first round talent and Christian Moore and Blake Burke, right? It's next man up. I mean, they had 18 newcomers coming in, and the amount of the scores got out of hand, Chris, because they're so deep that they had next man up, freshman after freshman come up and step up and deliver. And one of them I want to highlight that he's local from my area, went to my high school, Levi Clark. I mean, to have your opening, your first collegiate start, and you are triple shy the cycle, Chris. You hit your first home run, and it was a bomb. I mean, no doubter, just laser. Connor and I went up getting the ball from the fan, giving him, some merch, just give him a different ball, give him some batting gloves. Connor was super hospitable about that.
Good for you.
And getting Levi Clark his first home run ball, giving it back to the team. I mean, that's part of the Tennessee culture. I talked to him about it on the behind the scenes. So people are going to find out about that too. But I mean, the talent, the freshman class, they're so deep, Chris, that it's next man up, and it's not, there's no step back. They're not taking a step back. It's like, all right, next man up is like this team, this kid should be starting. It could be starting, right? That's how deep they are. One of the top 3 recruiting class coming in this season, Chris. I mean, to go on top of the roster they already have.
You were there, Harrison. I thought from afar it was really encouraging to see the way Marcus Phillips threw the ball.
Yeah,
I was kind of curious. We thought he was going to be back into the bullpen guy. Obviously, his spring practice or whatever preseason practice goes through. All of a sudden, he was like, "Hey, he's starting." It's like, what? And then Nate Snead, obviously in the 3 spot.
Yeah, think about it. You got to face now 95 to 99, 100 and Liam Doyle. You're facing then 98. You're facing 98, Chris, to 100 from Marcus Phillips. I mean, his stuff, and I watched it from right behind home plate, Chris. The stuff that Marcus Phillips has is going to play so well in the SEC this year. I mean, it's like a cutting, rising fastball from him. Filthy breaking stuff, right, as well. And then you got to face Nate Snead on Sunday. That's just not fair. I mean, the arms that they have to go on with the bats, I mean, it's no wonder that Tennessee is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the SEC year after year. And, I mean, if you get a 1-2-3 punch like that week in and week out, Tennessee's going to win a lot of games this year like they have the past few years, Chris, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, they're deep for sure. By the way, those watching, in case you're wondering what happened, my vlogging camera died midstream. This is what happens when you're on the road and you don't charge your camera like I did. So either way, we're going to continue with the Mac camera. We're all good. We're all good. Listen, we like Tennessee mid-game. We can make adjustments. We can call somebody from the pen. We're calling the Mac camera from the pen. Those watching, those listening, you don't care. No, good weekend for Tennessee, Harrison. Like you said, I'm excited to see some of those young guys in person as the season goes. You know,
and they're huge, Chris. I mean, these kids, they don't look like freshmen either. They look like sophomore juniors.
Typically on teams, Harrison, I feel like where you got dudes, like you can tell. You know what I mean? Like you can tell. I think Tennessee is one of those programs now. They've gotten to that point where it's like they just look different. Tennessee looks different. So I'll be excited to get a firsthand look. Harrison, let's talk Florida Air Force. Florida gets the sweep, of course. Gators crushed the baseball all weekend. The thing that jumped out to me, there's a couple guys. Number one, Brody Donay. I talked about all preseason how excited I was about him. The dude was seeing a beach ball. 7 for 10, 3 bombs. Dude, he can hit the ball off the cap, off the handle. The dude's got insane pop.
True grown man strength.
Grown man. The other thing that jumped out to me, Harrison, there's a lot you could take away from Florida. I do want to say this, and talking to folks down there in Gainesville, Air Force wasn't a great team. Like many of these other teams that SEC teams play, like no disrespect, it's taking nothing away from anybody. You take it a little bit with a grain of salt. It's not SEC competition, is what it is. But I think you can take away when guys flash. Something that jumped out to me, Harrison, and I don't know if it's just my brain, I didn't compute what happened. We saw Liam Peterson in person multiple times last year.
Yep.
And I swear when I saw him, I was like, he looked like a freshman. Like, he looked like a young cat, like in the face, in his body. Dude, when I saw him pitching Friday night, and obviously it was highlights and everything, I was like, this dude looks like a grown man. Like, did he just fill out that much? Is it the hair? It's like dude, he looks like a grown man. And he was throwing grown man shit all night. Dude, if they get that Liam Peterson, you've already got Clemente and Kapala in the 2-3. You've got a lineup that's going to smash. Dude, they get that Liam Peterson, man. Harrison, I tried to tell y'all about Florida, man. Everybody's sleeping on Florida coming in.
I said the same thing, Chris.
I know. I'm just saying, Florida wasn't nearly as talked about as some of these others. Dude, Liam Peterson looked awesome. He looked like the jump he's made from year 1 to 2. And it's one game, but I'm talking about from a body standpoint. Like,
Chris,
dude,
I'll go
he looked like he aged 3 years in an off season.
Chris, I'll go a step even further. Just the pedigree and how he carried himself, the confidence, kind of just, I don't want to say the swag, but just like go out there, take care of business. I don't want to say emotionless, but just like he looked dialed in, energized. He set a new career high in strikeouts for himself. It was previously 9. He had 11 Ks, 1 walk in 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 96-98 with rise, 88-mile-an-hour power 12-6 curve, it looks like, and an 88-mile-an-hour changeup with run and sink. This is the second time that a Gator has had double-digit strikeouts on opening day since 2000. The only other one was Hunter Barco in 2022.
That is actually really surprising. I guess it's probably because Sully probably doesn't let him go long enough. You know what I mean? Double-digit Ks is a lot, but you typically need 7 innings to get there. Most guys aren't throwing well enough 6 innings to get to double digits, but yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting stuff.
We talk about a 1-2-3 punch at Tennessee. Liam Peterson, Pierce Kapala. He went 5 innings, one hit, no runs, 12 Ks, 1 walk.
Peterson, Clemente, Kapala could end up being one of the best trios in the conference. It really could.
To face that lineup as well, it's as deep as lineups it gets in the SEC. And if this pitching staff, this starting rotation for Florida can pan out like this, I'd say 4 out of 5 weekends, 3 or 4 weekends a month at least. And
Harrison, Brody Donay did what he did. He was hitting in the 7 hole on Friday.
Chris,
the 7 hole.
With this lineup and this pitching staff, the ceiling that they have and what they've proved to us in weekend 1, Gator fans, book the ticket, book the room, We'll see you in Sully and Omaha.
Well, hey, on that note, though, we'll talk about it in a few minutes. The midweek awaits. We'll talk about it in a moment. The midweek, the real
Chris,
challenge.
But then you think about it. They've been to Omaha more times under Kevin O'Sullivan than they haven't.
I know. Now, it's not like we talked about in the preseason. It's not a bold take to say they're going to Omaha, is it? It's really not. When we get to the midweek, by the way, fun nugget on Florida coming for you about who's pitching on Tuesday. Let's continue, though. We got a lot of teams to get to. LSU, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Harrison. I'm just going to say this. I talked to an LSU buddy of mine. Purdue, Fort Wayne stinks. They're not good. Still, what can you take away from the opening week from the standpoint of guys that flashed? LSU's deep. They're really deep. And from what I was told, the number, Harrison, I don't know if you've seen it 1,000 times like I have, but I have 45. The number of the weekend for LSU was 45. 45 strikeouts on the opening weekend by that pitching staff. I think they said it was the most in a series since like 2002 or something for them. Everybody coming out of the pen is throwing 95, 96, 97. The lineup is insanely deep. Stanfield from Auburn had a big weekend. Derek Curiel does not look like a freshman. He's a stud.
Yeah.
Bear Jones.
The Utah Valley.
Yeah, Daniel Dickinson crushed.
Went off all 7
weekend.
RBIs.
Yeah,
5 for 9. Crushed.
And, hey, listen, other guys got opportunities because Bear Jones, he saw one fastball and he hit it off the fucking scoreboard. That's why. That's why everybody got a chance. It's like it'll be very much a pick your poison thing with LSU. And I think, again, obviously the story of the weekend, it's Purdue Fort Wayne. 45 Ks is 45 Ks, man.
Chris, I'm going to take
15 strikeouts a game? That's crazy.
I'm going to take this. I'm going to touch on some things that I don't think that it complement those stats and just to kind of round out the weekend. They only had 4 home runs and 7 doubles.
That is impressive when you think about
only
it.
4 home runs from an LSU team that puts up numbers like they do, but then you go to the pitching side, Chris, 45 Ks is unreal. Unreal. They only had 2 walks on the weekend to go with 45 Ks. That is dominating. Dominating on the mound.
And by the way, I want to backtrack because you just reminded me. I know we're talking about LSU. Florida, that staff, 3 walks. 3 walks on the whole weekend. To your point, that's the thing that, like, if you're a fan and you're like, I mean, it's Purdue Fort Wayne, it's Air Force. Dude, I don't care who the opponent is.
Yeah.
When you got guys with good shit and you're filling the zone like that, that's the problem with most of these stats, bro. Like, if you're pitching at LSU, Florida, Tennessee, et cetera, fill up the zone and let it eat. All of y'all pretty much have got good enough stuff. So, like, that's got to be encouraging.
Elite rotations in the SEC.
Yeah.
Cade Anderson, Chase Shores, Anthony Ianson.
Yeah, they look good. They look really good.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they shoved. I mean, the stuff is there. The stuff's playable. You got to do it in the SEC, obviously, and that's going to come. It's going to be a lot harder week in, week out, but
because of the portal, Harrison, I will say, because of the portal, because of NIL and guys coming to school instead of the draft, it does feel like, I don't know, like, I'm sure there have been years, but it's top of mind. Having these full staffs like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like most teams are, you're lucky if you have 2 of the 3 guys, I mean, dude, if you're one of these teams, what a luxury to just like, dude, we got 3. We got 3 horses
and Chris,
that we can ride.
LSU had the number 1 transfer, like, incoming class this season.
Yeah. Dude, and they had the number 1 pitcher in the country signed with them, and he pitched over the weekend. Said he was dominant. So, I mean, dude, it's one of the reasons, obviously, many others had LSU in Omaha. They're deep, man. They got so many guys. And
their player development is incredible. I mean, it's no wonder why guys want to go there, let alone the pedigree of the program.
Yeah. So, fun weekend in Baton Rouge. Harrison, Oklahoma. Speaking of fun weekends, they beat Lehigh. By the way, let's give the Sooners credit. Only team to have an inside-the-park home run this weekend. Thoughts on OU, Harrison? The Witherspoon brothers, they were obviously fantastic. Your thoughts on what you saw from Boomer Sooner?
Yeah, I think it's more of just a take care of business,
Yeah.
I mean, they did what you were expected to do against Lehigh. You go out there, you put up 11 runs on opening day. I think that says a lot. I mean, you have –
Oh, by the way, another horrific weather weekend.
Yeah, and I think everyone but 2 guys had an RBI on opening day.
Yeah.
I mean, then you got Kyson Witherspoon going out, have a quality start, 5 innings, 9 Ks, 2 hits, 2 runs. I mean, he's one of the top pitchers in the SEC, like preseason expectations and just draft stuff. And I'm excited to continue watching him this season, Chris.
Yeah, I'm too. The I mean, a lot of their success, obviously, Harrison, they've got some sticks. They need the Witherspoon twins to be really, really good, especially Kyson on Friday. But they got some bats, too. Again, and taking care of the business, you have to play the doubleheader early in the weekend. You get the big wins there. I'm excited to watch this Oklahoma team kind of evolve and unfold, and we get an SEC playing kind of what they are. You know what I mean? I am excited to see that. I know Oklahoma kind of feels a little bit disrespected right now. All the attention's on Texas, obviously. Oklahoma, you're going to have your time to shine. I promise. You're going to have it. We're not forgetting you. I understand. I think Oklahoma's a contender for the postseason. You're going to have your time to shine. I'll be very curious to see how Oklahoma fares as you move forward. Harrison, Alabama, they sweep Bradley. Thoughts on the Crimson Tide. Hey, by the way, side note, announcement, SEC Unfiltered Tour is going to, this weekend, Jacksonville, Florida for the Jacksonville Baseball Classic. I will get a firsthand look at Justin LeBron, Rob Vaughn, and the Crimson Tide. So excited to do it. Excited to hang with some Alabama baseball fans. They start their season 3-0, really handling Bradley in all 3 games. Kind of a series that just went sort of under the radar with some of the other bigger series this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, I think that's a good thing because that means they didn't lose. They didn't play terrible. You took care of business like they're supposed to against, an inferior opponent, a mid-major. I mean, I think Justin LeBron's the main kind of stay and the name at Alabama right now.
He's the face of that program right now.
Jason Torres, 8 RBIs this weekend, 6 for 12, triple and a home run. I mean, dude's going to be good. He looked good this weekend, Chris.
Yeah, I'm excited for Bama. That's another one. They could be really stingy. I'm trying to figure out where Bama is from the standpoint. Are they a lower third or are they middle of the pack? I don't think they're a upper echelon, obviously elite, going to challenge the top 5, top 6 or anything. But where they fall in the pecking order, they're kind of one of those interesting teams. Ole Miss kind of falls in that category. Oklahoma, you could argue, falls in that category. Like, where do you fall? The next team we're going to talk about, South Carolina, kind of falls in that category. A team that you had low expectations for. A successful opening weekend for Paul Maneri. I thought the games, Harrison, were a little too close for comfort, if I'm being honest.
Chris, I want to mention one more thing about Bama.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The pitching was a kind of – I had some questions about it because no one went more than 4 innings.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a lot of guys get an inning in, but, not a single starter went over 4 innings. I mean, you had 3 innings from Riley Quick. Bobby Alcork went 3 1/3, and then you had – Zane Adams, who's supposed to be their guy on the mound, went 4 innings and gave it 3 runs. I mean, I got some question marks around that, length and, stuff wise, but I think that's going to be a kind of a storyline to follow Alabama, at least early in the season.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch the way that pitching staff evolves. And
like you said, kind of the middle of the pack SEC teams. And then now we talk about South Carolina. It's kind of the same thing. Like, what are they going to make of the season and kind of
pitching shine for them? Pitching shine for that was the highlight for them, really.
And you had guys. All 3 of the starters went 5 innings. I mean, combined, they gave up 1 run in 15 innings. The starters of Jake McCoy, Matthew Becker, Dylan Eskew. I mean, they all had 9 strikeouts too. Really
impressive when you consider. I think you and I and many others thought Eli Jerzenbeck was going to be in the opening weekend rotation. He's not.
He's dealing with some injury. He's getting
dealing with injuries. Those guys step up. Ethan Petrie hits a bomb on opening weekend. You had Blake Jackson have a couple knocks. Kennedy Jones, couple knocks. Some other guys stepped up as well. The upset of the weekend, Harrison, can we just call it for what it is? The upset of the weekend happened when yours truly was featured in the Ray Tanner tribute video by Gamecock Baseball. That was the most random, unexpected thing of all time. So salute to the folks, whoever that intern or student was that made that clip or chopped up that audio. I apologize if you probably have been fired by now. But, either way, that was really cool to see. But Ray Tanner honored. Paul Maneri gets his opening weekend sweep. A pretty good weekend at a Founders.
Yeah, I mean, another a good weekend from Nathan Hall. Don't forget Nathan Hall. I mean, he went 4 for 8 with 4 RBIs. I mean, a home run, double. I mean, he had a really good weekend. I think he could turn into a key piece of this lineup throughout the season. You have guys like Kennedy Jones, like you said, and obviously Ethan Petrie, but like maybe like an Evan Stone, someone else that continues to step up. I mean, it can't be a one-man show of Ethan Petrie. It's not going to work in the SEC.
That's going to be a huge key for their success. Are there guys in the lineup that can protect Petrie? Because Petrie's going to Petrie. But I mean, dude, when you get an SEC competition, it's like if there's nobody else that really scares you, we're just going to pitch around him. Like we're not going to let Ethan Petrie beat us. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple, right? So that'll be the key for them, I think, and obviously the pitching staff too continue to kind of evolve.
But definitely, the highlight of the weekend was the pitching staff for Carolina. The pitching staff back to Don't SECU took care of business on the mound. All three of them.
Yeah, I don't. Doesn't matter the competition. You got to be encouraged by what you saw from them, especially McCoy. I liked his game on Sunday. Really good stuff. How about Mississippi State? Are we saving the best for last when it comes to the sweep? By the way, we didn't mention Arkansas either getting the sweep. They did too. We're going to talk about them after Mississippi State. Hey, Harrison, Dogs win again. Dogs won 3 times this weekend. Again, weather impacted. I believe they played the doubleheader, if I recall correctly. Pico Khan, really good on opening day. Hunter Hines with a homer. A lot of different guys. They hit 359, Harrison, on the weekend at Mississippi State. Very, ho-hum, what you'd expect, taking down Manhattan. But, yeah, it was exciting. I know there's some folks out there, by the way, that comment on our stuff. They think we don't show love to Mississippi State. Dude, I picked them to go to Omaha. I'm high on the Dogs, man, and they had a good opening weekend. So, your thoughts? I loved what Pico Khan showed in that first game.
Chris, there should not be a doubt that we show love to Mississippi State. I mean, first off,
some people out, they're like, "Hey, you didn't get to state, man." I'm like, "We're trying to get to all 16."
Every week it feels like we're big Justin Parker fans, and what he is as a pitching coach. I mean, the fans there, some of the best in the SEC in the country as well. But Pico Khan,
I may have glossed over him on Friday Night Spikes. I apologize. I do.
They can't hold me accountable because I was busy.
That's my bad.
But no, Pico Khan, like you said, I mean, he was brilliant, Chris. I mean, Friday night stuff, 5 innings, 1 hit. I mean, no runs, 11 Ks, no strikeouts. I mean, go up there and take care of business. That's a Friday night guy handling it. And then Stone Simons, a shorter start, but I mean, 3 innings, shutout, 1 run. 1 hit, no runs. And then you have Carson Ligon, Ligon, I think it is, 4 innings.
Lignon? I don't know. I have no idea.
We'll clarify that next time for sure. Apologies to him. 4 innings, 1 run, 4 Ks, 8 Ks, no walks. I mean, they only had 2 walks in the weekend from the starting pitching staff.
I think that's the thing that we're talking through this, Harrison. It's so impressive. How many of these staffs had such good control
with the power stuff?
I'm really surprised. I don't feel like anybody, there was nobody that was like, man, they struggled to find the zone, a lot of walks, sloppy. I mean, pretty much everybody just handled their business. You know what I mean? That hasn't always been the case. That's why I'm saying that. I don't know. Interesting. But that's encouraging if you're Mississippi State. I mean, you're filling up the zone. We know they got depth in the pitching staff. Yeah, that'll excite you. Should excite you. So,
yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long season, obviously. It's a gauntlet of a season SEC, but a lot to be happy about with this pitching staff and, take care of business week in, week out, and you'll be in the postseason.
Yeah. No, Mississippi State, again, a lot to be pumped about. Hey, listen, baseball season back, baby. Our boy Lounge Dogs out there smoking meat. They got the –
And there is nothing better, Chris, than postseason baseball at the Dude.
The Dude's rocking again. It feels good to be good. Feels good to be back. The Dude's rocking again. We love the Dude. Harrison, again, we've saved this, and I'm sure there's a lot of Hog fans out there that are just livid right now because we're just now getting to Arkansas, and now we're in. I know it's crazy. But Arkansas surviving an opening day scare. It was like the worst nightmare of the Hog Pen had been realized. Give them credit. Found a way to win late. The walk-off, obviously. Arkansas ends up taking care of business in the sweep, but this is maybe the one, Harrison, where it's like, a sweep's a sweep, right? A win's a win. We get to game 50. Nobody's going to be talking about how you won game 1. You won it. That's all that matters. But probably not what you wanted to see from the offense. I know it was cold, but it was cold in a lot of places, man.
I mean, Chris, wasn't their first hit of the season a bunt in the 5th inning?
I think so, yeah. That's peak Arkansas. Peak Arkansas offense. That's peak Arkansas offense. Hey, Gabe Gackle was good. The
Gabe
pitching
Gackle
was good.
great. Zach Root was great too. I mean, both went 5 innings, combined 3 hits, combined 1 run, combined 15 strikeouts, and combined 2 walks. I mean, and then
they're gonna pitch, man. They're gonna pitch.
I mean, they're a pitching factory, Chris. And then you got Gage Wood. You got to see as well, who went 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 7 Ks, 1 walk, and then Will McIntyre, who's still there, still in college. Talk about a veteran. I mean, Will McIntyre is gotta say has the most career innings active in the SEC right now. But the stuff that he has is going to play all season long, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, again, with Arkansas, they're going to pitch. Listen, thank goodness you found a way on opening day to get that W, because I don't know that Arkansas folks could have handled it losing that game. I mean, you were sitting there checking the score. You're like, oh my gosh, the worst nightmare has been realized. Kudos to the boys. You found a way. You scratch and claw. Win's a win. Doesn't matter how you get it. I guess I'll give you that it was cold. But, let's not overreact. But good weekend on the bump. We got things to figure out in the lineup. We got to continue to see the hitting progress. That's what's going to define Arkansas season, Harrison. Can they swing the sticks at all? Can the hitting even come close to matching what we think the pitching is going to be? That'll be it.
And I think the highlight of the weekend, of opening weekend for Arkansas's offense, I mean, it had to be Brent Irondale. I mean,
yeah, he was good.
Have a weekend. I mean, for a struggling Arkansas Razorback offense, he went 6 for 11, 7 RBIs, 2 bombs, a double, and 4 runs. I mean, he's leading the charge there. He's slugging over 1,100. I mean, you got like the same thing with South Carolina. It's got to be more than one guy. You got to have multiple guys. You got to have a deep lineup, because then you can't pitch around guys. But you have Ryder Frick had a good weekend as well. I mean, 3 RBIs. I mean, I say that with a grain of salt for what Arkansas's offensive production has been the past couple of years. We talked about it, Chris. Last year, as elite as their pitching staff was, Chris, they were second to last in batting average in the SEC, ahead of only Missouri. If they would have been middle of the pack in the SEC, they would be in Omaha.
Yeah, it's all about the hitting.
The question, week in and week out, Chris, leading up to the SEC and then in SEC play, because it's not going to get any easier once conference play starts.
You mentioned Brent Iredale, New Mexico Junior College, the transfer.
JUCO, baby.
Yeah, big time JUCO Bandit with the big weekend. You need a guy like that to step up. You got to have a guy like that step up. But either way, Hogs start the season 3-0. Let's go to the teams, Harrison, that did not, shame on you, that didn't play in tournaments, that did not play in tournaments. Shame on you didn't sweep. Still winning weekends, at least for one of them. Auburn taking the series. They had a rubber match. I think this was the only, in regards to a traditional series, obviously.
In the SEC, yes.
Yeah, Ole Miss in the SEC. Ole Miss and Texas, they both came in Sunday 1-1, but they played 3 different opponents. In the other, just normal series, no tournaments, Auburn was the only team that came into Sunday with a rubber match. They beat Holy Cross on Sunday. Harrison, here's the thing. A couple things jump out. It was a great weekend on the Plains for baseball. They set records for attendance. They had their new renovations to show off to the ballpark. They had the green monster with the seats on top, which is great. Love the fact. And Auburn had a big weekend, right? They beat Alabama on the hardwood in basketball. Everybody's fired up about that. Kudos to the Auburn folks out there. I don't know how many are tuned in, but kudos to all of you getting behind Butch Thompson and this program. Kudos to Auburn. Auburn's one of those teams and programs we know, Harrison, that's looked at how much they really like baseball. Is it a priority there? They showed up. They showed up on opening weekend. Give them credit. The other thing, Harrison, that jumps out, easily the best story of the weekend. Cade Bellew honors his mother. Obviously, the story is much bigger than him doing what he did on a baseball field, but loses his mother to cancer that morning, that night, hits a home run. And it's one of those stories, man, that it's one of those stories that makes baseball so special, makes sports really so special. Shout out to that kid. Incredible the fact he was even able to play. He hits a home run. Again, he hits this home run hours after his mother passes. I can't even imagine the emotions. Cool. It was a cool weekend in Auburn, man. Cool
Chris,
weekend.
I'm going to agree. 100% best story of the opening weekend was Cade Ballou hitting a home run, the same day his mother passed away to cancer, and just rest in peace to her, and just be, thoughts and prayers with their family. But we talk about, how can you not be romantic about baseball, Chris? It's not going to, replace that, but to be able to do that, and, we know she had the best seat in the house to watch that, and to be able to play in that game, Chris, even unbelievable. So shout out to Cade Ballou, and just shout out to him. That was unbelievable, and just so happy for him, and to be able to, play in the game and, do that. It was just unbelievable. And then the team to rally around him for that, I think best thing opening weekend for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Final one, Harrison, Kentucky. What an odd weekend for them. They go to Nashville, which was weird in the first place, to play Lipscomb. They were supposed to play 3 games. They only play 2 because the third one gets washed out, essentially, I guess, on Sunday. And they split 1-1, an opening day doubleheader, win the first one, lose the second one. I'll be honest, Harrison, I don't have a lot to say about this. No disrespect to Kentucky. I just don't have a lot to say. Feels kind of weird when you only play 2 games and you split it. I don't know how you really feel. But any thoughts? Anything to say on the Cats?
I got more thoughts on Auburn if you want to go back to that in a minute. But
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can go back to Auburn. That's totally fine.
I'm going to go back to Auburn, and then I'll hand it
We don't need to spend a lot of time on Kentucky, I'll be totally honest. But
I think Bristol Carter, I think, had a good weekend as well. But then Derek Fabian played well, but Ike Irish struggled.
Did he really? Okay.
1 for 10. 2 RBIs, but 1 for 10. I think that's
one of their veterans.
That is their guy. I know it's just a weekend series. He's an unbelievable talent. He's not going to struggle the entire season, but he's their guy. Cooper McMurray is their other big bat in the lineup, and he went 4 for 10 with 5 RBIs and a home run, 3 doubles. But a little worried about Ike Irish struggling. That just not worried long term, but just something I think to note that we should and need to note. So definitely wanted to hit on that. But to go back to Kentucky now, I think Nick McKay had a good start. 5 innings, 2 hits. He wasn't dominating strikeout. 4 Ks, 2 walks, but no earned runs. Give your team a chance. A really good start. You end up winning 11-0. So, there's that. But then you go to the second game, right? And just, Ben Cleaver did not have his best stuff. 3 2/3, 3 runs on 4 hits. I just don't think that there's an excuse for losing to Lipscomb after. Yes, there's some roster turnover. You just went to Omaha. New season, obviously different team, but I just don't see. I feel like that just can't happen. In a 2-game series, basically, because of weather. You're playing on the road, which we thought was odd to play in Nashville at Ken Dugan Field at Lipscomb. But we have our concerns and worries about Kentucky, and this is the time that those growing pains, it's okay to happen, because you don't want to have them when SEC play comes around. And we know Nick Mangio is a phenomenal coach. Coach of the year last year, and rightfully so. And so I have a lot of faith that he's going to, turn this ship in the right direction and do everything they can to, have another successful season. I don't think they're going to have the season they did last year, the unbelievable season they had, but they're going to be competitive in the SEC, I think. They're going to be scrappy. That's just kind of, I think, their style of play. And I think a growing pain weekend for them, Chris.
Yeah, kind of a weird weekend. I would imagine if they got that third game, I would say Kentucky wins it, and they win 2 or 3, and we're not really talking about it as much. But, yeah, kind of an odd way to open the season. Either way, you got to think, like you mentioned, with Nick Mingione, they'll bounce back. They'll get it going. That being said, Harrison, I'm excited because, again, we're at a point in the show as we're about to wrap up, but not before we do something, if you tune into the Windup last year, we didn't do, which is we didn't really highlight the midweek all that much. We're going to talk about the midweek, at least give our thoughts on some notable matchups, what stands out. Harrison, obviously, we're not going to be the guys that give you a 2-3 hour show on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, but maybe if y'all want that, we would. I don't know. But we are going to highlight the midweek. Excited because, as Florida proved to us last year, you're not defined by it, but it is pretty notable results and could keep you out of the postseason if you don't win enough.
We got some big midweek games, too, Chris.
Got some big midweek. There's some fun midweeks on the schedule this year. Harrison, let's go through these really quickly. Bear with me. I'm going to read these off Tuesday and Wednesday, and we can talk about some of our favorites here. On Tuesday, we've got LSU Southern, Kentucky Morehead State, South Carolina at Winthrop, Tennessee UNC Asheville, Ole Miss Arkansas State, Bama Middle Tennessee, Vandy Air Force, Florida at Jacksonville, Interesting. Georgia at Kennesaw State. Texas A&M McNeese. Mississippi State at Southern Miss. Texas and Houston. And Auburn and Troy. On Wednesday, we've got South Carolina Queens, Bama, Alabama State, Vandy, Air Force again. Mizzou at UCF in Orlando. Oklahoma, UTA. Florida, Florida A&M. LSU at Nichols. And Auburn against North Alabama. Harrison, let's start with the Tuesday slate. I immediately go to, we have to start with this, right? Hey, Florida, welcome back to the midweek. And I told you I have a nugget for you. You ready? You ready for this nugget?
Yeah, who's starting?
I have been told by those close to Florida baseball.
Very close.
That Billy Barlow, the Clemson transfer, will be getting the baseball on Tuesday night. How about that? And I think Aiden King, the freshman, who threw one inning over the weekend, is probably going to start on Wednesday. So, but Billy Barlow, that's it.
And they're high on Aiden King.
Oh, very high. But Billy Barlow, I was like, dude, that's a name I feel like I haven't heard forever. And he's going to get the ball for them. So at Jacksonville, they're playing this, I believe, at Jacksonville Stadium. Yeah.
I think they're playing the Jumbo Shrimp, Stadium.
Are they playing the Jumbo Shrimp Stadium?
Possibly.
It's at John Sessions Stadium. Is that the Jumbo Shrimp Stadium? I don't know.
Here,
I'll look it up really quickly. But still, it's got to be a storyline for Florida, right?
Chris,
here we are again. No, this is Jacksonville University. They're playing at JU. The Dolphins, baby, home of the Dolphins.
I'm going to go two different directions for you. Mississippi State at Southern Miss at the Peak.
Oh, at dude, the Peak. It's going to be rowdy.
Season game.
It's going to be rowdy.
Southern Miss is 4-0. They are a power mid-major.
I'm praying for good weather for that. I want peak atmosphere.
If we were traveling to midweeks, Chris, I would either go to that or I would go to Plainsman Park and see Troy.
Yeah, top 25 Troy.
3-0 Troy.
Yeah.
Play at Auburn.
Skylar Meade and the boys.
The Fighting Meads.
Dude, how about Texas Houston? That's a good
that's
a good game.
I can't name them all, Chris. I took two. You take two.
Fair enough. Okay. So the two that I will take, you name two, I'll take two. I'll take Florida, Jacksonville, low-hanging fruit. I want to see how Florida starts. I think it's going to be a point of emphasis for them to play better in the middle. You have to think so, right? They were so bad. It was the running joke that they're the worst baseball team in the country on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and they're one of the best teams in the country on the weekends. But, they don't want to be known for that, obviously. So, Florida and the fact they're going to JU, very interesting. So, that one, and then, Texas Houston, my second one on Tuesday. But, the fact that we have 4 games on Tuesday night that are really, we got, so Florida Jacksonville is a 6 o'clock Eastern. Mississippi State Southern Miss is a 7 Eastern. I don't know if Texas Houston is announced.
It's not. It'll probably be a 6 or 7.
Yeah, whatever. It'll be a night game.
Auburn will be a 6 or 7.
So this is actually, so we do have it now. 7:30 Eastern. We have that one. And I'm sure Auburn's is on their website. The Auburn Tigers.
The rest of them real quick, though.
The Auburn Tigers take on Troy. Yep, 7 o'clock Eastern at Plainsman. So it's going to be a fun night of midweek baseball with those matchups.
Chris,
sure.
Let's do a new thing. I'm just going to run through and say a one-liner for each midweek preview, right? LSU, ho-hum, take care of business, handle. Kentucky, struggle, win. South Carolina,
that's a weird place for them.
Struggle,
Rock Hill's a weird place for them.
One-run game. I think anything can happen in that one. Tennessee, I think run rule. Ole Miss, I think probably like a 4-run game. I think they take care of business. Bama, I'm gonna say a 1 or 2 run win. Vandy Air Force, I'm gonna say a 3-run win. Vandy. I'm skipping Florida Jacksonville because I don't know what's gonna happen. I think Florida does take care of business though.
Is Georgia Kennesaw State kind of a weird game?
No, they play at KSU. They play at KSU. Okay. Good. I saw them play there last year.
Okay.
I honestly think Florida kind of pulls away with it late, just the offense. I think Georgia takes care of business in like a 5-3 game, closer game. I think A&M puts it to the woodshed, like 8-1. And then
at least.
I think Southern Miss, Mississippi State, 1-run ball game. I don't know who's going to win. 1-run ball game, though. I'm going to say 50-50.
That has to – I think – tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think that's if you had to pick one game on Tuesday to watch, that's got to be the game.
Yes.
From the rivalry perspective, that has to be the game.
In-state, I mean.
That one will get a little chippy.
Hear me out, though, Chris. Texas, Houston, I think it's like an 8-7, 8-6 game. I think Troy upsets Auburn.
Somebody's losing. I mean, there's going to be at least one that loses. At least.
I'm taking Skylar Me and the Troy Trojans to go into Plainsman Park.
Hey, you'll probably have a line to bet on too with our friends at FanDuel. They will probably drop a midweek.
I'm taking my buddy Will Mangurian, strength and conditioning coach at Troy. Boy's gonna be bussing in Plainsman Park. I think they're gonna come out with a win. Troy's a top 3 mid-major, I think, in the country right now.
Yeah, no, Troy is very, very good. That'll be a fun one. How about the Wednesday slate, Harrison? Not obviously as loaded.
Missouri UCF.
Yeah, we can't each take 2 because there's not 4 really high-quality games, I think. But
you want that one? I'll take a different one.
No, you can have Mizzou. No, you can have Mizzou UCF. You take it. I'll go LSU at Nichols.
I wanted to go LSU.
That's
Nichols.
just a weird. That game is in Thibodaux, Louisiana.
Well, remember what happened last time Nichols played LSU at the box?
What game was that?
LSU Nichols at midweek at the box. Nichols won.
Oh, that is right. LSU's going to want to come in with some vengeance. Yeah.
I'm excited to see, though, Missouri, how they play, staying in Florida, staying in the South, the warm weather. And
UCF should be a quality opponent, too. That'll test them a little bit. That'll test them a little bit. Yeah. So
I'm excited. I think this is good. This is, I think, maybe the best.
It's a fun. Tuesday's definitely more fun than Wednesday, but.
Yeah, Chris, this has to be the best opening week, midweek slate that we've seen in years.
The best ever. We just no shot. It's just recency bias, and we're just that fired up for college baseball season. It's the best midweek slate of all time for an opening week. Best, easily. I will say, to your point, Tuesday's electric. Wednesday's a little, we'll see. I am selfishly too, Harrison, to the point. I'm excited to see Aiden King pitch against Florida A&M. They'll beat the hell out of them. But I'm excited to see Aiden King pitch. So that'd be fun. And we'll see a lot of different guys, all these SEC teams.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys to get innings. I mean, I think like teams like Tennessee are going to have a lot of freshmen get to play, a lot of opportunities for guys. So that way, when roles open up or because of injury or just struggling, they're going to know who can we go to. That's a big thing for midweeks, Chris. And then these early non-conference games when you're up 8, 9, 10-1, you getting guys opportunities like that.
Well, and that's what makes these midweeks and the non-conference slate, but especially the midweeks, Harrison, to your point, so interesting. And I feel like forgive me, I should have done this to everyone listening a while ago. Nobody's going to listen, and that's totally fine because I low-key love it because this passion and low-key insanity is what makes what we do so much fun and why we get to do it for a living. My PSA is this. Teams are going to lose midweeks. The season's not over if you lose a midweek. But those, Harrison, those words are going to fall on the most deaf ears of all time, but I'm going to say them anyways. If your team loses a midweek, it's okay. The sky is not falling. You should not fire your head coach. Take it from someone who called for a coach to be fired, and they ended up being pretty good. And the fact they lost some midweeks didn't define them. Look at Florida last year. They lost damn near every midweek, and they made it to Omaha. So these gagames matter. Hashtag midweeks matter.
We're making midweeks matter, Chris. I was waiting to say it.
We're a big we're the college baseball show, SEC baseball show that'll tell you midweeks absolutely matter, if for no other reason than bragging rights.
No, I'm going to say number one reason, player development.
Well, yes, that's the very professional answer. But Mississippi State wants to beat Southern Miss's ass for bragging rights. That Absolutely. Tuesday night game matters. So, anyways, it'll be a lot of fun. But you do get some wacky results.
And with Troy Auburn, they're not far apart.
And Troy Auburn, yes, Troy wants to score that one. But anyways, it's fun. My PSA is simply, Harrison, just keep your cool. Teams lose midweeks, it happens. But again, it'll be fun to watch everybody not do that on the timeline. It'll be fun because that's going to happen. It's just the nature of the beast. So, anything else, Harrison? Anything else you want to add? Opening weekend. I'll say this on a final note. You can add to this with your take. My biggest winner of opening weekend, I think it's got to be Ole Miss. I really do. The biggest winner. There are other teams that swept, whatever, but in regards to preseason expectation, what they did on the field, I mean, I understand they got run ruled by Texas. Not a good look. But, bro, they won 2 top 25 games. I mean, and granted, I mean, Texas had a great weekend too. My biggest winner of the weekend's got to be Ole Miss, though, dude. I love what I saw. We'll see how it plays out long term, but they were fun to watch, man. Rebs could get hot. You never know.
I'm going to agree with you with Ole Miss with the Rebs. I mean, just what we saw from them throughout the entire weekend, be able to bounce back after getting run ruled in 7 innings by Texas and just dominating a top 10 team in Clemson after you're playing postseason teams all weekend to start the season. I'm going to give Vandy a nod. Vandy boys at second, though. Impressive weekend.
Yeah, them going 2-1 in that. Yeah, them going 2-1 in that tournament.
And a comeback win with the bats.
And and that's the key with the bats. That's impressive.
They were that close to going 3-0.
Yeah, very nice.
Ole Miss takes the cake for sure.
Yeah, they had a very good weekend.
Don't let the Reds get hot.
Don't let them get hot. Don't let them get hot before it's too late. Harrison, we do have some questions. Let's rapid fire. Again, as y'all know, I hate to spoil the magic. We're not live at the moment. You think we are, but we're not. But in the cases that we're not, we're going to drop a tweet, a post, a story, little mailbag for you. Leave us your questions. We love interacting with you guys. So let's rapid fire these, Harrison. Of course, our friends over at Chinook. Shout out to them. They flooded me with a lot of questions. Some of the others did as well. These are all Chinook, by the way. These next 4 I'm going to read. Best uniform of the weekend. Go. What was it?
Vandy. Vanderbilt has some of the best uniforms, I think.
You know what pissed me off? Ole Miss didn't bring their powder blues to Arlington. They said they weren't ready in time. What does that even mean? I don't know. Vandy boys for sure.
Can't happen.
What did you hope to learn from a team but didn't? It's kind of a tough one. It's kind of a tough one.
I want to say Auburn's pitching.
I'll say that's a tough question.
Auburn's pitching, the lack of length of starters and just depth.
Yeah. I'll go with your answer. I don't know. That's a tough one.
And to answer the other side of it, South Carolina's pitching.
Yeah.
Their starters.
And I'll say their lineup, too. I don't feel like I still have questions about the lineup leaving that weekend.
Yeah.
Thing you saw in a game you've never seen before.
Vanderbilt's left field, I don't even want to say shenanigans because I don't think it deserves the word shenanigans.
Oh, the ring around the rosy. Red Rover. Here's the thing. I've seen this. I'll tell you this. That takes the cake. The other thing I'll say, though, Harrison, I've seen it in a game. But the hidden ball trick pulled off by Clemson.
Yeah.
I know that's not SEC, but it was against Ole Miss. I've seen that before, but it's been a long time. I don't remember the last time I've seen a hidden ball trick actually work in a D1 college game. So good for them. Final one from Chinook. How many bags of seeds did you eat over the weekend? Harrison, I'll let you start. I know it was at least one.
It was one.
It was one.
The weather, and we went to go get food at a
whole bag for Harrison.
Local spot. And I said Hatch Chili was the front runner for first bag of the year. They won.
Here's the thing. I didn't keep count. I had way more than one bag. I think I had like 3 or 4. I went everywhere from jalapeno ranch, I think it is, to barbecue, to a little bit of lemon pepper. I kind of bounced around.
Chris, I will say, I mean, I was running around Lindsey Nelson for, I'd say, most of it, but I was sitting outside coach's office eating it on the balcony. I couldn't really.
Fair enough.
We got a trash can.
You didn't have prime seed eating conditions.
I wasn't going to leave Tony balcony just dirty. Fair enough.
The one thing that I'll tell you this. I'll give you a little crap for the seeds. You can give me a lot of crap for this. The one thing I didn't do my ultimate regret, and I will change this week. I will do it in the midweek. I'll make up for it in the midweek.
Arlington.
I did not have an opening day dog or a dog at all. I didn't have the glizzy.
I didn't either.
I did not have a glizzy. I did not. So shame on me. Shame on me. But you know what? Here's the thing. There wasn't a good one available. Like,
so Chris, you were inside. I did see that one fan talk about you being inside. It's not the same. It didn't count.
That's a good point. You can't even grill a hot dog in the indoor.
Was that your first collegiate or professional ball game inside
in a dome?
Of
that was my first ever games in a dome.
I've been to Tropicana. Feels weird.
It like there was an echo. It was strange. It was very strange.
Especially with those metal bats. I bet it.
I will say, as cold as it was outside, I was glad it was in a dome, but it was weird. Let's see.
Influencer Chris was glad it was inside in the suite.
I was very glad I was in the influencer suite. I don't care how bougie that sounds.
Influencer Chris.
Yes. At UGA Hoops Shinobu, would you rather have great hitters or a great bullpen? It's a good question. I'd probably go bullpen. I'd go bullpen. I'm going to go bullpen.
I want to go bullpen as a pitcher, but
But you need sticks, though, right? You got to have sticks.
I'm going to say sticks because if you can't score, you can't win. I mean, you want to talk about a one-run loss like in Arkansas? I'd rather be in Florida and lose 10-9.
That's more infuriating than anything, I think. Yeah,
I'd rather lose 10-9 and get out hit barely than, I mean, you want to talk about things we've seen. I got to add one more. Things that you saw this weekend that you haven't seen. I want to bring up a basketball score that I saw, Chris, in a baseball game. I think it's opening weekend, Chris, and I guarantee you it will be the highest scoring college baseball game of the season. I thought it was a basketball score. Rhode Island playing William & Mary. William & Mary is my mother's alma mater.
Wow. How about that?
Go Tribe. The score, Chris, 36-22. I'm saying again, 36-22 in a baseball game. You know what's even worse, Chris?
58 runs in a game.
Combined 58 runs. It ended in 7 innings. They got run ruled. 58 runs in 7 innings.
Didn't they have a 20-run inning?
17 runs in the 5th inning for URI, for Rhode Island. I mean, Chris, tell me this. We're on a team, right? The same team. We show the ballpark, and I tell you, we're going to put up 22 runs today and lose. And
I'm taking somebody to Kangaroo Court or something.
Somebody's
got to go to Kangaroo Court for that.
Full. That jar is full. But Chris, not even to lose, get run ruled, and your team scores 22 runs. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Mama, but
it's tough.
Tough
loss for Mama Fant this weekend. Tough loss.
I told her tonight, and she was not happy.
It's a tough L.
Not happy.
She's making a call. She's rescinding her donation for that, just for that performance.
I'll donate to Kangaroo Court, family court for that one.
Yeah, family court. Yes, indeed. We got a few more, Harrison. These come via Instagram. Again, thank you all for leaving your questions. Andrew.Lou.87. 7 of 16 teams swept their opponents to start 3-0. It's not a question, but it is a fact, and it's a good one. SEC Capital, good friend of ours on IG. He says this, Harrison. I want your reaction to this. Alabama and South Carolina are serious Omaha dark horses. Seems like a bold take after one weekend.
I'm not even going to say they're dark horses at all. It's about serious dark horses.
That seems like a bold take after one weekend, my guy. Much love, SEC Capital, but that's a bold take.
I'll say serious dark horses in the SEC.
At least let South Carolina take 2 of 3 from Clemson before you say something like that.
I would say right now, like going into the season right now, Mississippi State. I mean, you can say Ole Miss over Alabama and South Carolina right now for dark. If you want to say a dark horse, I'm not saying Ole Miss is, but I'm not saying
SEC
Alabama
Capital was really impressed with those sweeps over Sacred Heart and Bradley.
Hit my line, SEC Capital. We'll talk.
Yeah. Let's see. Knox Vernon 17 says Lord Tubbington is the GOAT. There's really no disagreement from this panel. Lord Tubbington is the GOAT. I agree with that.
Big fan of Jace. Big fan of Lord Tubbington. I mean, his home run was...
He's a monster. I'm saying him as he looks like a big leaguer. Like, he really does.
I mean, super humble guy. Had the pleasure and opportunity to interview him and just chat with him, get to know him. And I was really impressed with him off the field and just who he is and kind of his makeup and just how he goes about his business. I mean... I think it's great to the Aggie baseball Twitter. They tweet, "All hail Lord Tubbington" in caps on that home run. I like that.
Such a great nickname.
I mean, he's a first-round talent for a reason, Chris.
Yeah, you had him on. I've met him in person. Great dude. And it's just, it's to be that good at anything would be very fun. Cole Thompson, our guy Cole chiming in. How about that? After the opening weekend, have your opinions changed on any SEC schools? See, I think for the opinion to completely change, I don't know that you can react quite that much. So I'm going to say no, Harrison. I don't want to, like, there's teams we feel a little bit more optimistic about, maybe a little bit less or have more concern, but, like, I don't think I've completely changed an opinion on a team yet.
No, I agree. I wouldn't say I completely changed on a team. I'm not going to base it on changing an opinion on a team until you get 3 weeks in SEC play. Me personally. I also don't think rankings matter until 2-3 weeks into conference play for SEC and ACC. I mean, it's just a number. And I mean, even at Tennessee, they don't care. At A&M, they don't care. I mean, I talked to Hunter Inslee. I mean, they were number one team in the country last year, and he said I asked him about being like having a target on your back. He goes, "We were hunting as the number one team in the nation."
Yeah,
but I don't think rankings matter until conference play.
Yeah, which is what the great teams do, and I'd agree with you. You got to let it play out a little bit longer before you start completely changing an opinion. Last one, my guy Johnny Leto. Shout out the Rippers up in Knoxville. He actually just moved to Nashville, by the way. Shout out those guys. My guy Johnny, though, big Tennessee fan, Tennessee alum. He says Tennessee might be just as cold as last year, pending pitching against SEC play. And for those of you that are hearing me and saying cold, he means in a positive way, like cold, like
Joe Burr, cold,
like cold-blooded. Like Tony V's cold, like he goes hard, whatever. It's the slang. Tennessee might be just as cold as last year, pending pitching against SEC play. Harrison, can Tennessee be as good as last year in your mind? That feels bold. That feels bold too after one weekend.
Can they? Yes. I don't think they will. I think they're going to be a little bit different style of team.
As talented, yes. As good, TBD.
Yeah. I mean, as talented as they are 1 through 9, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the mound and the bullpen, and the freshmen, the depth that they have behind, yeah, I don't see that not being a possibility.
Yeah. Again, to be as good as last year, that's more than talent.
I mean, that team won 60 games, Chris.
It's clutch. There's so many different factors. It has to be TBD. So, Harrison, a lot of fun, man. These shows on Mondays, recapping and reacting to everything, looking at the midweek, answering questions. They're going to be a blast all season long, guys. We can't say thank you enough for tuning in. I'll say this, all the interaction and engagement over the weekend too. Social media was a blast. Being on the road was a blast. And we cannot say thank you enough. By the way, Harrison, it is going final. Look at that. We go through the show. The Texas Longhorns have beaten Oklahoma State. Final score, though, Harrison, 14-8.
So you did not jinx it.
So I did not, and if you took the over in that game, you certainly hit. High-scoring final game of the Shriners Children's College Showdown.
Chris, they say life's too short to bet the under.
It is indeed. So a good weekend for Texas. Successful weekend. Horns get it done. Anyways, guys, appreciate you all tuning in, man. This has been great.
I know this one was a little long, Chris, and they're not going to be, our Mondays aren't going to be that long, but just opening weekend, I think, deserved it.
They might be. They'll probably be a little shorter once we get to conference play. We'll have less series, but
you only got 8 series.
Listen, these Monday shows, we're gonna kind of, here's the thing. We want to make sure we highlight everyone, so they're going to be a little bit longer. We appreciate you guys bearing with us and being a part of the ride.
Chris, what we're going to do on Mondays? We're going to touch them all.
We're going to touch them all.
We're going to touch them all. Touch all the bases.
Yes, indeed.
That
was a little bit corny, but I appreciate the sentiment. I do. It very baseball.
Was that an Omaha?
Very baseballish. Very baseballish.
That sounded like a corny joke for you. The Omaha.
And Omaha. Yes, that was also corny. Yes, indeed. Again, we appreciate y'all sticking around this long, man. It's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. So many great teams and so many great results. SEC kicked ass this weekend, as you would expect. And it's only going to continue. So, the midweek's going to be fun. Again, I can't say thank you enough for the engagement and interaction. You guys showing love, and, man, the college baseball community is awesome. The SEC baseball community obviously rules it all, and we felt that all throughout the weekend. It's only going to continue, man. I feel like we've started the season off and as well as we could have, as well as we can, and continue to see it roll out. So, Harrison, I appreciate you, my friend. Again, guys, make sure that – and, by the way, one other thing. Continue to follow along. We're going to be covering these games throughout the midweek. We'll be back on Thursday to recap what happened in the midweek, obviously preview the weekend, look ahead. And be sure, by the way, if you're still listening now, you're a diehard, which is pretty much everybody. Be sure to tune in every Friday night. Friday Night Spikes, the debut of that was a massive hit. I can't say thank you enough We had a blast. It's not always going to be just me. Harrison's going to jump in at times. Our guy Jake McKeever's going to jump in at times. It's going to be so much fun throughout the season. We're going to be interacting with you guys, taking questions. So please be sure every Friday night, around when the action's concluding, sometime around there, we're going to go live, hour or so, shoot the shit, hang out, have a fun time with you guys. It's that first one was a lot of fun, I can say. So, again, Harrison, thank you, my friend. You're the best. This has been a blast. Again, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast or get those. You can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.
Play the music.
Once again, this is the Windup, SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show. For Harrison Fan, I am Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. And we will catch you all on Thursday.